Not everybody's getting paid.
Let's get back to the television.
You got
No,
two.
you're being a homer.
Come on.
No, he said it.
Don't start me.
No,
He's
not
a bad
bad
man.
anymore.
Go Tigers.
Sound Off is ready. Are you?
Welcome to Sound Off. We're here at Caesars Sportsbook, Horseshoe, Lake Charles, and
Who's not
as you
here?
can see, Scooter, as always, you know, you and I have been a constant on this show, and I want to say that for the record if he's watching. But we have a special guest in tonight with us, Mr. Brady Renard. You guys may know him from 7 News, which did the sports there for a number of years. Now he's got a new role here at the Tourist Bureau, and we're going to let him talk a little bit about that. But we first want to make sure we talk about McNeese. First win in 5 games, Scooter, at home. Some of the people
losing streak.
in Lake Charles have to be a little bit happy now to see that the Cowboys are back on track. And the person that's not here that love his Saints the most is Mr. Cerro. And what did they do again this week, Scooter?
Well, they lost.
Found a way to do
And
it.
not
Well,
to say.
they played just good enough to lose. That's about how their season
And
is
Scooter,
going.
you know, the one thing that we really wanted to get on Rick
Yeah.
about, will the Saints at all this year ever play from behind? Will they ever find
Play
a way?
with a lead.
Play with the lead instead of playing from behind. Every game it's been that way.
We'll see.
And let's talk about our
Oh, yeah, let's talk
final.
about it. How your Bayou Bengals do?
I'm not going to have a whole lot to say this segment, Scooter,
Yeah,
on
I
the
bet
LSU
you
Tigers.
will.
But before we get started with McNeese, we want to let our co-host that's in with us tonight say a little bit about what he's doing, Mr. Brady Renard. Tell us a little bit about
What are you
what you're
doing
doing
now?
out here.
Well, look, not to take too much time.
Good to
I've
have
kind
you.
of moved out of sports a little bit. I do a podcast. We do some video work for Visit Lake Charles, essentially
Yes.
getting people into town to see all that we've got to offer. So it's nice to kind of get back in the proverbial sports saddle again here on the show.
Wow, and I think that's good because, you know, doing that, and also we wanted to mention that's a huge revenue base
Absolutely.
for us here. And I mean, by doing that, bringing sports here, that's going to let people know that we've got avenues here in Southwest Louisiana that we can have sports that we can do all around the state. And thanks for doing that. So let's get on to our McNeese Cowboys. Scooter, you and I was both at the game.
Yeah,
What
and I
did
would
you-
like to. This is the first game I've been able to go to, obviously, this year. And I would like to take some credit for the win, but I don't think it was me being there. I think it was Houston Christian being there.
Yeah,
Was the big difference.
And that's, I mean, is that school, we've known in the past, is that school more of a basketball school, Brady, or is it
Yeah,
football?
well,
No, I
you
mean,
used to know that as Houston Baptist.
yes.
Right.
And
yes.
they only got a football program, 11 years ago?
Right,
Yes.
and they've had some good runs. A couple of years ago, they had the coaches, and Houston
Yeah.
Baptist all of a sudden was kind of the experimental child in terms of that. They've been good at baseball in the past,
They
too.
have. They
so ultimately, though, I mean, they're just mismatched when it comes to a full, complete program. I mean, you saw it last week. They barely were able to beat my alma mater, Northwestern State, who right now is going through their own issues. And then you saw McNeese kind of flex their muscles. They played their best game of the year defensively,
I did think
pitching
McNeese
a shutout.
played well.
I did.
And they ran the ball well. We saw finally Carson. We finally saw Jake Strong do what he does well, which is, I don't know, run the football.
That's why he was brought there.
He's
to
a
do that.
north-south runner.
He had hardly run at all this year.
Just a
Before
few
this
other
game.
games. We saw it against Weber State, hit one of his better running performances. They had one of their better offensive
They did.
performances.
They
I
did.
think this staff is still trying to figure it out. We know that this is going to be a rebuilding year, but these are the types of
is.
games that I think you start stamping your identity.
Yeah.
This is the defense we're going to play, and this is the way that we're going to win offensively. Because he's not an efficient passer. He's a
No, he's
56%
not.
completion.
You are totally right about
but
that.
that's okay if you run the football well. We've seen it work before at McNeese.
I wish
just
LSU could
10
figure
years
that out,
ago.
though. But Scooter,
Well, let's
you
don't
had a
get
chance
too
to talk with
excited.
Matt and everything. And what were some of the things that Matt actually discussed with you about the game itself?
I thought it was interesting. Because with not having seen them play at all in person.
Yeah.
I'd seen a few on live streaming. I was really curious because that last game to me was the low point, right?
It was, not to score
And
any
I
points.
was wondering what that team's frame of mind was. So after the game,
Yeah.
my question to him was, you're coming off the low point. You had an open date, and then you got to, come back.
Yeah.
Are you hitting the reset button? This is the fork in the road.
Yeah.
I guess what's a nice way of saying did you think they would quit on you?
Yeah.
Well, that the game, had answered that, and he said he wasn't. He was not worried about that. That one thing he would say for that team, for all the travails they'd had this year, they stayed engaged. They were there with the program.
Sure.
And I was there. And the one thing that I noticed that I hadn't had a chance to really see in person, I was really surprised as to how the defense played. Being that, in some games they've given up a lot of points, Brady, but to see the way they played that night, I was wondering, why haven't they have more wins?
Right,
because the defense has been playing. If the defense is playing like this,
they only played Houston
Christian once. Exactly.
And their other one is against Louisiana Christian.
All right, dude. Okay,
you got to find more Christians.
All right. You answered my question.
And that's a big proponent. And then also the offensive. You know it. Defense feeds off offense. Offense feeds off defense.
Always,
you play well,
always,
it helps.
Always. And and looking at it, I think one of the stats, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scooter, Brady. Didn't the quarterback, Jake Strong, didn't he set a quarterback record for something?
Said he tied the 3 rushing touchdowns.
From a quarterback.
I didn't know who the others were.
Could it have been Kerry Joseph?
Farouk.
Could have been.
Farouk, okay. And that was just, wow. I mean, but having to see the game and to see, the only thing that I was a little bit disappointed in, guys, was the attendance. It was kind of low.
Well, what did you expect?
Number
one, you had the threat of rain.
Scooter. It was
had
homecoming.
the threat of rain.
It was homecoming. You're supposed to have a big attendance for homecoming.
Well, you had threat of rain. You had a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, that's
Scooter got to be so difficult. Scooter, give him a break, man. Scooter, you got to give him a break.
And Chuck Fest as well. So there was a lot going on.
Yeah,
yeah.
They did, but I know.
You know what I noticed? Because to me, this year is kind of a welcome back. You had the COVID year with all the spring games, and then no lights the next year with the afternoon.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much of a crowd, but am I crazy, or is the McNeese marching band a lot bigger than it used to be?
It's a lot more fun, I tell you that, because some of the songs they were playing, I have never heard them play before, okay? I mean, they're getting a little bit of like risque like at LSU, so I was really surprised at that, to be honest with you. But look, good luck, Cowboy boys. We're hoping they're going to continue the winning streak and everything, but we just want to wish them the best. And right now we're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back after these messages.
Every day is a seafood festival at where else? Seafood Palace, Lake Charles. David Papania and his crew serve up the freshest and best prepared boiled crabs and shrimp, award-winning fried catfish, shrimp, fried crabs, and more. You can eat light with grilled seafood or salads, or go big and hearty. From the border to the basin, it's the legendary Seafood Palace.
When disaster strikes, you don't have time to wonder who to call. At Reclaim Restoration, we're your trusted partner, 24/7, 365. Whether it's fire, water, or storm damage, we rebuild, renew, and revitalize your property and your peace of mind. Locally trusted, nationally certified, and voted Acadiana's Choice 2024. Call Reclaim Restoration today at 337-445-6499 and take the first step toward reclaiming your life.
Miller Time started in 1975, and the clock's still ticking. A light beer that tastes like a beer. Now that's legendary. Here's to another 50 years of Miller Time.
Now's the perfect time to enjoy your amazing backyard. Unless you have a mosquito problem, contact the experts at J&J Exterminating and take advantage of $50 off initial service. Make this summer the best ever with J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
We are back here at SoundOff, and I know this is probably the segment that I may end up walking off the set, but I'm hoping that my good friend Brady's going to keep me on the set, because we all know what's coming. What happened in Nashville Saturday? And let me go back. Scooter and I have this ongoing thing, because when I played at LSU,
do you have some respect for Vanderbilt now?
They were always the stepchild, and I would always say, Scooter, that was a practice game. We didn't have to practice for Vandy. That's a different Vandy.
Yeah, will you put this helmet on for me? I actually think it ought to fit. Give that big LSU head of yours should be a lot smaller now.
But let me say this.
Get it on.
Did you guys see the exact same game that I looked at on Saturday?
It wasn't pretty.
It was disappointing. And I'll tell you for a number of reasons, Scooter and Brady, everybody expected more out of LSU for the mere fact of all the money that LSU spent on defense and bringing in people. Now, they had good people. And I don't know how in the world Harold Perkins overran the quarterback on 3 rush occasions.
That was the worst game Harold Perkins has had.
Scooter?
That was his
worst
game.
I'm saying, Harold, where you going, dude? Slow it down. He was moving too fast. And let me say something. I've got a whole different respect for Pavi. Scooter, he could be on your Heisman list.
He's more than just – right now he's my leader. He's more than just an opera singer.
That's a good name, Brady. That's an inside joke we have.
Lead tenor.
That's an inside joke. But
Nashville Philharmonic.
How can Coach Kelly and them not prepare? They knew what was coming. And how do you not prepare for that,
It was shades
Brady?
of A&M last year, right? Remember when they brought in Marcel Reed and they
Yeah,
completely
but
fell
that
apart?
That was
but
a
that's
surprise.
But that was
That
a
was
surprise. And so you look at it and you knew that Whit Weeks wasn't there. But Whit Weeks, while being a very talented linebacker, he's not Luke Kuechly.
No,
He
he's
shouldn't be
not.
the identity of
He's
your
not.
defense so much
I
that
totally
he's
agree.
not out here
I
that
totally
your
agree.
defense can't cover.
Well,
I totally
they
agree.
miss more than just his talent.
Oh, they had
would
five.
be
They had five
I
people
mean,
that
he's
didn't play.
their emotional
And I get it, but
leader, too.
but that shouldn't be the difference between.
I agree, Brady.
They
Totally.
they hadn't allowed points in the second half. They had held almost every opponent this year to 10 points. And then you go from that to not stopping a team until the fourth quarter. Vanderbilt's a good football team.
They are.
This isn't. I
Scooter,
that should not be
That
glossed
must
over.
have hurt.
It hurt bad.
That
Scooter.
shouldn't be glossed over. Ole Miss, the other loss, was to a good football team.
Yes,
But
yes.
it's when you're being choked out against inferior opponents that's when it happens. They're inferior because they do not have the guys that will be playing on Sunday that LSU has.
You're
Ole
exactly
Miss
right.
doesn't either.
And that's what bothers
the
me.
biggest issue.
That's what bothers me.
The gist of my column, which was in Tuesday,
Yes.
this morning's paper, there's no shame for LSU in losing to Vanderbilt because the better team won.
I agree, Scooter.
That's okay.
And that hurts, Scooter.
But LSU ought to be ashamed that Vanderbilt has a better football team than they do.
And you don't have as many guys that probably, like Brady said, will be playing on Sunday. That's what blows me away.
I'm not even sure Pavi is a Sunday guy.
Scooter, that's what
No.
blows me away. How you got
Of course,
guys beating
looks
you.
like he's going to play in college till he's 50.
And while he made great individual plays, there
Look.
were no fluke plays within it.
No.
There was not a defensive touchdown. There was not a weird fumble or interception. They just lined up and ran the football down your throat.
You know what scares me? The scores could have been worse than that if they wouldn't have fumbled. Think about that. Because they
There were
gave
no
up a touchdown.
turnovers.
They gave up a touchdown at the end. I mean, he just, sat on it or whatever?
Oh, he took
right.
a knee.
He could have-
Yeah,
he could have
I mean,
scored.
Come on, okay?
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying, guys, is just that Kelly and them has got to go back and look at, they got to look, guys, it doesn't get any easier. You would have to win out to even
Against
get in the
A&M,
Scooter.
Alabama, Arkansas,
And
and
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. I think they can beat Western Kentucky.
We all know what's going to end up being, okay? And I'm saying right now, Kelly, as the head coach, how do you let it get to this point? Brady, that's what confuses me. How we're at this point
That's
right now.
a
Year
legitimate
four.
point.
You had a championship
Judge
team
me
that you
on year
brought in.
4. Judge me on year 4. Well, I'm judging.
Yep.
At
You
this
had a
point.
championship team that you
judging,
brought in.
And he talked, this is the best roster that he's
He
had.
said that, Scooter.
Remember that?
And he's right. This is the best roster that he's had.
well,
position-wise, I don't think LSU could be any better than what they are right now, position-wise.
Well, you
outside of the
know,
offensive
with
line.
one notable exception. I mean, even a lot of the defensive problems Saturday, it all starts with the worst offensive line I've seen at LSU, I think. I mean, really, they can't block anybody. It's, they always, from the start of the year, struggled to run block. But they did a fairly good job of protecting. They're going to get Nussmeier killed.
Well,
I mean, he'll be in the hot tub all week.
he's got to find a way to get rid of that ball a little bit quicker, too.
How?
I
He's
think
got a
that-
half second to get rid
They
of
have
it.
got to find, Scooter, that's when a good offensive coordinator comes up with something. Can I say that? And we don't have that. I'm sorry. That's when a good coordinator comes in. You know what? Since the offensive line is not as good as we would like for them to be, we've got to find plays that's going to help Nussmeier get the ball out quicker and more efficiently.
When you can't even slow a pass rush down, a 3 or 4 man pass rush, and you can't even slow it down, I don't know what kind of ball plays you
when
throw for
your
that.
left tackle is sitting in your lap because he gets ran down on the ground.
Run over.
And these LSU wide receivers, they don't catch the football, and they do not make miraculous catches.
Well, they have.
Look at Vanderbilt. How many times did Pavia's receivers bail him out?
They made some
with
good catches.
throws?
They made some
LSU doesn't make those catches.
I have to agree with you on that, Brady. They made some
I don't
good
think
catches.
And I
LSU
really thought going into the year, wide receiver was the strength of that team.
It always
and
is.
it has not.
They have been a bit of a disappointment. They've had their moments, but they have been a disappointment.
The tight end has looked good, and the quarterback, when given all of the time and he's not hurt, has looked okay. Everything else on that offense hasn't looked right. I mean, look, Caden Durham can run, but you can't run when you've got guys in your lap.
You got to get over 100 yards, Brady. You got to get over 100 yards as an LSU
when you
back.
can't block any better than that, nobody can run.
You have to.
I mean, would you agree with me? Trey Green's probably become their best offensive player.
He is, Scooter.
Yeah, easily.
And yet, he might have had the worst play of the game when he jumped off sides to negate a touchdown that would have tied. I think it would have tied it.
It would have tied it, yeah. But that's the thing that I'm looking at. I mean, where does LSU, when you look at LSU identity, we talked about this early on, Scooter, what was going to be LSU's identity? What it was going to be? We have yet to figure that out right now.
Well, I don't think they have one yet.
I don't think they either. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and take this break here, and we're going to be right back after these messages. Don't go anywhere.
When things heat up, you don't just want a cold one. You want the coldest one. The cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged one. Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
What's bugging you?
Is it roaches? They're the first pests you think of for indoor bugs and a health threat. At J&J, we offer weapons to eliminate and prevent infestation of your home or business. Let us take care of what's bugging you. Contact us today for a free inspection.
Reclaim Restoration is your trusted partner serving Southwest Louisiana from Lake Charles to Lafayette. Whether it's fire, water, or storm damage, call Reclaim Restoration today at 337-445-6499 and take the first step toward reclaiming your life.
Miller Time started in 1975, and the clock's still ticking. A light beer that tastes like a beer. Now that's legendary. Here's to another 50 years of Miller Time.
We are now back, and as our fellow partner here, Mr. Rick Silver would say, we are in the C segment. I know he's going to laugh about that, but
God. I thought we were done with that with him gone.
That's what he would say, Scooter. We're in the C segment right now, but here,
well, you could
in our third segment.
Could say C-section.
No. Let's keep it on football. Let's keep it on football. Look, we're going to talk now about our Saints. Woo! Boy, I wish Rick was here, boy. The Saints, I mean,
that was a step
what do we
back.
do? What do we say about the Saints? I mean, what do you do? And you got Denver winning. Sean Payton is winning games coming from the former Saints coach. Coming from 20.
Did the Saints fire him?
No, they didn't.
Okay, then
but
you
coming
can't
from 20
blame
points
them.
behind, Scooter, would we like to have that in New Orleans, to come from behind 20 points and win a game?
Well, if they win a game, that's how it's going to have to be. Because they don't play with a lead. Wouldn't you just once see if they can hold a lead?
Scooter, I don't think it's impossible. I don't.
I mean, what do they do in pregame warm-ups? Because they're sure not ready at the start of a game.
Brady,
I thought they fought back pretty good.
They did.
Yesterday.
You talked identity with LSU. What identity do the Saints have? There's not much, because I think they're in a talent deficit each and every week. You typically will be the worst quarterback. You'll have the worst offense. You'll have the worst defense. And look, overall, I don't think this team played super poor, because I think they frustrated the Bears enough, especially pass defense. I thought they played really well in the passing game. The issue is that they couldn't tackle, and they had awful run fits.
Well, the Bears aren't the 86 Bears.
No, they're not.
No, but they're a good running football team.
But they are a good football team, though.
They're in the top 10
and Caleb is getting
rushing.
better each week. He's
the
getting
issue,
better
though,
each week.
But I didn't think he played particularly well.
He did not.
No.
And Rattler, I think last week we talked about it, and I was thinking,
Both of them.
Can you give Rattler a chance? Maybe he, can be the long-term answer. Well, yesterday was a step back. That might have been his worst game this season. I think there was one.
I mean, the first series. But when you think about it, though, and I say to myself, guys, do you remember those days when people went to the Superdome and they had on paper bags? Is that getting close?
No, because I think people understand them.
Okay, it's a business now. They feel like it's a business now more than they did back then, say 20 years ago.
But all they do is tease you. Well, think about it.
I don't know.
Well, you had that role reversal at the end of the first half.
Sure.
You know how the end of, doesn't matter how great, this goes back to even like the Super Bowl Saints and all. But
Well,
it
wouldn't
didn't
that be
matter.
nice?
Didn't
Wouldn't
matter.
that be
Didn't
nice?
matter how good the first, say,
Yeah.
28, 27 minutes were. Somehow the Saints
Something
were
was
going to
gonna
manage
happen.
to give up a touchdown in the final 2 minutes.
That they have.
Well,
to.
yeah, the Saints hadn't done diddly poo, as Jim Mora would say, for the first 28 minutes, and then all of a sudden they go 90 yards in about 4 plays.
It just,
I mean, where did that? And then they come back out and score in the start second half.
Brady, give me your opinion now. Do you think this is a year that the Saints need to make some changes for some of the veteran players that's there? Or where do you see the Saints going from this point to where they can be a competitive team, say for the upcoming years? Because right now, you got old players that's only going to get older.
Sure, and they've been in that spot for a while. They've never hit the reset button, even when they lost Breeze.
No.
We talked about that last week. Right? You kind of kept trying to extend. Every year that they had Dennis Allen, Loomis kept trying to roll over cash. And all it did was create a further and further deficit that unless you nailed the draft every year.
You're right.
This isn't, what was it, the 2014, 2017 draft when he hit every single pick on that draft? One of the greatest drafts ever. And that kind of extended his lifeline, so to speak. And he's been chasing that high ever since. And it's tough to do. I think at some point, I think you've seen enough of Rattler. While I think he's played better of late, he then has this 4 turnover game where every single play was his fault. Every turnover was his fault.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that, but I would argue with you've seen enough. I mean, what are you going to do? I'd give him the rest of this year anyway.
What I mean is, I meant to hitch your wagon to him long term. I don't think he's that type of player that you say, you know what, we feel really good about where we're at here. We just need a few other pieces. I don't think we're at there. I mean, I can be wrong.
And Brady, the funny thing that you say that
and
bring up
what are you doing on this show?
Exactly.
Kevin and I are never wrong.
We had mentioned before, was teams looking for this year's draft to be a solution to the Saints' problem? With the way some of the quarterbacks have been playing now, I don't know if there is a solution coming out of this year's draft for what can fix the Saints. I don't know.
I just think NFL teams look at quarterbacks differently than college teams do. So I think they'll look at Nussmeier and say, well, did they ever give him a running game? They're going to look at a guy like that differently. They're going to look at a guy like Sellers and say, their offensive line is just as bad as anyone else's.
That's a good point you bring up.
And so these guys come in and they're going to be able to sit. And so I think the future can be bright in New Orleans because I think Moore is a really good offensive mind.
He is.
You get a good defense, you start getting younger, you start getting better, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, this team's pretty fun. But you've got to get there. It's going to be a time. And look, credit them. It really feels like at this point, maybe they're starting to look at it that way, and they're not trying to say, you know what, I think we have a chance in this division.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I was saying. We talked about it here on the show, Rick and Scooter and myself. Is this a turning point to where do you really just kind of throw the towel in and say, let's get what we can get?
I don't know if it's the towel.
And I don't know if it's an NFL team that would even do that, but I know there are teams that...
But you make decisions that don't hinder your future decisions. That's what's important. You don't give out lucrative contracts that you can't weasel out of later. You don't do the things that in 2 years when you want to trade for Micah Parsons, who now out of nowhere becomes available, you can't do it because you don't have the picks or you don't have the cap.
You're right. I totally agree with that, though. All right, then. Well, we're going to take our last break that's coming up, and we'll be right back after these messages.
The Horseshoe Lake Charles experience begins with elite gaming in the region's newest and most exciting venue, featuring all your favorite table games and slots. Caesars Sportsbook at Horseshoe is the legend in sports betting. And speaking of legendary, Gordon Ramsay's Steak is above all others, where celebrity chef Ramsay brings his fury of flavor to Southwest Louisiana. Great food and live music at Brews Brothers, and of course, impeccable hotel accommodations. Plus, earn big with your Caesars Reward Card. That's Horseshoe Lake Charles.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
All right, we are back here at Sound Off for our last segment of our Tuesday show here. And one of the things that we had got word of this week that Scooter had a chance to mention to us on a little bit of a sad note was one of McNeese's stars, who we would look at as probably could be one of the best players to ever come through McNeese, Scooter.
Stephen Starr, I guess died sometime over the weekend, the Vinton native. I think he was, we just got word of this.
Yeah.
I think he was back living in Vinton.
He was.
But you say Stephen Starr was the best athlete in any sport ever at McNeese.
I agree. He was good.
He was in high school, he was like a 5-sport athlete.
He was.
I mean,
he was.
I have a kind of, my very first year in Lake Charles, I had just started working at the American Press, and they had me covering the Jamboree. I think it was in Sam Houston.
Yeah.
But they had me covering the Jamboree, and I remember Bobby Dower, all he told me was, and I don't even remember what school he was talking about, but there was one school was going to be there who had a quarterback who I think Arkansas was looking at, something like that.
Yeah.
He says, be sure you look at this guy. I want to know all about him. So I go cover this Jamboree, and the quarterback Bobby had talked about didn't even play for some reason. He'd slipped in the cafeteria that afternoon or something. But anyway, Vinton
didn't
was
show
playing.
up.
Bad mystery meat.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was Starring's senior year. And if I may be wrong, but I don't think he had been hurt his junior year or something. Hadn't really played, so not a lot of
Just his
people
senior
knew
year?
about it.
Wow.
But I put it this way: when I got back to the office and Bobby asked me about the quarterback, Bobby Dower, I said, "Well, he didn't play." I said, "But if he's any better than this kid from Vinton, I got to see him."
Wow.
Because I saw as good an athlete as I've ever
Wow.
seen. And he was. I mean, he did so much at McNeese.
He did.
Sure.
He taught me how to run the high hurdles. I mean, in high school, he was that much of an athlete, track and football. And he was just a talented type individual. I mean, he could do everything. I mean, Stephen could have played wide receiver. I mean, he could have played running back. I mean, he could have played everything. He was that talented.
Well, how many quarterbacks you know that were punt returners?
Yes, that's my point, Scooter.
And he also ran track at McNeese.
He did.
And won several Southern Conference hurdles championships.
Yeah, he did. That's the guy that taught me.
Somebody said in addition to that, at Vinton High, he not only played on the basketball team and track team, he was also the number one player on the tennis team.
Well, we want to wish his family, blessings and everything. And guys, we're going to see you next week right here on Sound Off.